So you just watched a video talking about the actual battle itself. It started out as a small kind of skirmish feeling thing, and then it turned into what is called a siege. And so what the siege ends up being is the Confederacy is surrounded on all sides, kind of nowhere to go, and they end up having to surrender at this battle. They have to end up giving up. And so that's how the Battle of Vicksburg is won by the Union. So you can see on this cool little 3D map, you have a blue line that represents what the Union had control of the Mississippi River. You can see down here that the Union had gained control of a small portion down here where the Mississippi River dumps out at the Gulf of Mexico. And then you can kind of see from Vicksburg to Port Hudson, this is where the Confederacy had control. On the Thing Link you did a couple weeks ago, the state that you should have answered the Confederacy had control of the Mississippi River by this state, it should have been the state of Mississippi, okay? And so if you recall, when we talked about the Anaconda Plan in week 1, we said that stage 2 or part 2 of the Anaconda Plan was to separate the South. It was to take control, full control of the Mississippi River, separating the eastern portion, Texas and Louisiana and Arkansas, from the western portion over here. And so with the Battle of Vicksburg, when the Union wins, you can see that they're going to be able to accomplish that goal. This is just another map. You can see my very terrible red line here drawing down the Mississippi River from the north to the south. And so you can see this is all where the Union had control up till Mississippi. And then you're going to have that small portion of Confederate control. Let me see if it'll show it on here. Oh, sure thing. Okay. So you can see up here is where Union had control. Down here, the Union had control. And then there's going to be this little bitty portion right here where the Confederacy has control. Okay. So big ideas to take away for the Battle of Vicksburg. Vicksburg, Mississippi was important for the Confederacy to protect, because if they lost the city, the Union would control the entire Mississippi, effectively splitting the Confederacy in two, severing it from food and other vital resources. So essentially, guys, what happens, I'm going to go back here real quick, is that Texas and Louisiana, remember, Texas is a huge supply base of foods, weapons, of soldiers. And so that said, this stuff that Texas and Louisiana are supplying can get across the Mississippi River right here where the Confederacy has control, and it can fan out and it can be distributed throughout the western portion of the Confederacy. However, when the Union takes control at the Battle of Vicksburg, at the Siege of Vicksburg, when the Union takes control of that itty bitty portion, there's no way that Texas and Louisiana can get anything over to the western portion. So they have devastated this section of the Confederacy. Really is going to depend on Texas for items to help during the war. Okay, so again, Battle of Vicksburg, Siege of Vicksburg is detrimental to the Confederacy. It's not the last line, it's not the last thing that happens, but it is kind of a nail in the coffin for the Confederacy. This is so bad for the Confederacy.